My daughter's father abandoned us when she was born and was absent. Now 4 years later, he shows up out of nowhere and wants to be a parent. I, 33F, am a single mother to a 6-year-old girl. I've raised my daughter all on my own. She was born from a one-night stand with a now former friend, 37M. We never got together, and he refused to be involved in my pregnancy or my daughter's first 4 years of life. I was stressed out emotionally because it's a big change, but I never asked for child support or forced him to be involved. I have enough income to send my daughter to a private school, and I'm perfectly fine on my own. The issue started when he reappeared from wherever he went and decided he wanted visitation, except he's not on my daughter's birth certificate, and the father is listed as unknown. He wanted to have that amended, but I said no, and that if he wants, the best he'll get is to meet her during outings with myself or my daughter's godparents. He agreed, but he's been constantly pressuring to get parental rights. The court already gave him a big fat no, unless he pays 4 years of child support, which, with his income, goes somewhere around $230k USD, and he hasn't paid a cent. My daughter doesn't even call him dad or recognize him as dad, she calls him Mr. I keep it very clean, I never bad-talked him, never made up stories. When she asked about her father, I used to say it was just the two of us. Even during court, the assigned CPS agent testified that my daughter had no affection or clear relationship with her biological father. Now, the main issue happened in a parent-teacher association meeting. He would say things like my family thinks or what is best for my family. I didn't agree with him, and I voiced my disagreement by saying my daughter has different needs and those are a priority. He was clearly angry. After the meeting, there was a moment for teachers and parents to mingle and just talk about how the kids are doing. One of the teachers approached me to apologize, saying she didn't know my husband and I didn't like a project she was doing with the kids. I told her I had no husband and my daughter loved the project and wanted to be a part of it. The teacher then told me that my former friend was going around talking like he's my husband and he represents the family. I was livid, and I walked up to him and very loudly told him we needed to talk in private. In the parking lot, I told him we were not a family and that he either will respect that I am the only one who can make decisions about my daughter's education, or he won't be involved. He went on about being her biological father, then I reminded him he had not paid a cent for the pregnancy, my daughter's needs, or even the private school my daughter is in. He hasn't tried to see my daughter since, which she doesn't mind at all, and I did ask her by the way. I do feel a bit bad about what I said. Edit. I wanted to add this because the PMs are driving me insane. He has the money to pay child support, but he chose not to pay. He was never prohibited from being involved. He had my phone number, and I sent him pictures and invited him to birthdays and other big celebrations, but he never came. Also, we are not in the US. Update 1. I'm going to preface this by saying my daughter's father, whom I'll refer to as Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. It was a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the entire pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied that he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support, and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement that anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition that my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner, and that is when I found out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers, but if I'm being honest, it was uncomfortable the entire time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle, not the actual name she used, but it was that different from my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The entire time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous, so I decided to just bide my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom, and this stranger went, "Oh Gabby, you need the potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now, and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and held her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down as if she were the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he'd better explain, or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside, and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that, all I'll say is it was sudden and nobody's fault. As I can only imagine, it had caused some psychological issues for his wife. Apparently, he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me. That's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what his plan was when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. Well, I'll just send Katie back with you, and it will be just like before. I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. I would not let that woman within miles of my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family, it's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I am making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him, and my daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation in the meantime. Edit. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust, and I make really good money in my position. If she were 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for the quality of life. If I could get child support and never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat, but after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support or possible inheritance is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. Update 2. Hey everyone, I decided to post a final update since I will be going silent for a long period. For those who didn't know, I'm currently dealing with my daughter's father and his delusions. He wants to use my daughter as a therapy doll for his wife, who recently lost a child. A lot of people were worried about my daughter and me, and I truly appreciate it. We're both safe, she's currently having a great vacation with her godparents, and I'm making my own arrangements to move on. My lawyer is working hard to keep everything in order. I know a cease and desist was his first action, and we are going for no contact. He says we have a solid case and hopefully, this will be resolved relatively fast, and by that, I mean a year or two. We did get a temporary restraining order, and it's only until our first court date, but it could be extended afterward. I haven't had direct contact with Jeff. He lawyered up to and tried to send a threat to take full custody. My lawyer laughed at it since his reasoning was parental alienation, except I have proof I tried for years to have him involved. Apparently turning in a few emails showing my attempts was enough to get them to change parental alienation to a different reasoning, but in all honesty, my lawyer is not worried. For now, I've decided after much thinking that moving is going to be necessary. It won't be something I can do on a whim, but I'll be looking into new houses within the month to hopefully move sometime this year. School will remain the same, but we will be speaking to the admin to make sure only certain people can pick her up. Part of that decision has been to hire a private driver. He's someone I absolutely trust and has worked for relatives in the past, so I'm very comfortable with the idea, and so is my daughter. Now I just have to make sure they don't go for fast food every day after school. All in all, things are not that scary right now. I have a good lawyer, good evidence, and my little girl is happy and healthy, so I'm just going to focus on working on things little by little. Because of the legal proceedings, I don't think I'll be posting any updates anytime soon. And to those sending me PMs telling me I'm horrible for keeping my daughter from her father or telling me I shouldn't have had her in the first place, please kindly speak to the void. I'm too busy.
Received an anonymous tip telling me my wife was with the guy she told me not to worry about. My wife, let's call her Sam, 36F, and I, 40M, have been together for 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs in our relationship, but we're generally happy. On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight, absolutely hammered. She just said she'd had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account claiming to be one of her colleagues, saying she had been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44M, and they had left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks and then went to the station herself. She says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with the guy through the station at about 10:45, so nearly 2 hours later they were still together, and they didn't see her. Last night, I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claims she was so drunk that she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8 p.m. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour, and then they later arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night. She explained that it's because he's the only person in her office she has anything in common with, and they're just friends. She insisted it wasn't flirting. She's mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent me the message and says it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. Today, she's been in a terrible mood, and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are, and I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big a red flag as it seems to be? Update 1. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she had spoken with a coworker, Tom, and he had confirmed that they hadn't held hands. They had just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague, Helen, would make an Instagram account, track me down, and message me, saying they held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her, and she said it's because she and Tom are friends, and Helen is a crazy, jealous person, as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink with just Tom, and she said that according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting wasted. The next day, she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office, and the company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently, she had mentioned this, but I can't recall. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, "Do you think anything's going on with them?" Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message, saying that they flirt at work, and everyone's noticed. Apparently, Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She also said that Sam complains about me to the entire office, and it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party, and she said she was. She mentioned that she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message around midnight, saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11 and were at the new bar by 10 past, but Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. Sam arrived home at about 2 a.m., not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep, and then later I looked at the location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she had taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, and then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, and said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could share a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her, but she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and said she was okay. Sam came home yesterday morning, and I asked where she'd been. She just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her, I'm controlling, I take her for granted, and that she's deeply unhappy and has been for a while. So she's gone now. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today, so maybe this is for the best. Update 2. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras, and I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually, I just said she'd met someone else, and I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know she's alright but without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early, and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted it wasn't an emotional affair. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said I'd be moody whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try to fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk, and we've drifted apart. I said I'd heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed that they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she told me she wanted a divorce, and now they were together. She wanted me to hear it from her first before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me, saying she knew I was upset but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day, I was just numb and didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I've no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town, and luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update unless something miraculous happens, so thanks for reading. I did exactly what my wife wanted me to do but accidentally got her friend pregnant. Now my marriage is in shambles. My wife, let's call her Letty, and I used to have an amazing relationship. We met each other 8 years ago, married 4 years ago, and we used to have a great marriage. We had our ups and downs, but we always solved any issue and never let a day pass before amending things between us. We were happy. In the last year, we started to be more adventurous in the bedroom. After an event in our family, Letty decided to let go of her shyness and live every single thing she could think of, which ended up with her becoming creative in the bedroom. We tried everything that caught our attention. If we saw something on TV or read about it, we tried it. We had so much fun together. After trying something she was very curious about, she let me choose something to do. She told me, choose something you've always wanted to try but never had the chance. I stupidly told her I always wondered how it would be to be with 2 girls. She agreed and started to plan to make that dream a reality. I still regret that moment. We ended up choosing a girl we know named Abby, a friend of hers from her job. She is the type of girl who believes in energies, crystals, vibes, etc. A free-spirited girl, and she is nice to hang around. We told her, and she ended up accepting. We chose her because we knew it was very probable she would accept, but we also chose her because physically she is very different from my wife. While she is small, with pale skin, short hair, and a small figure, not saying she is ugly or anything, she is very cute. My wife has tan skin, long beautiful hair, and a great body. The idea was that, this way, there would not be insecurities about me comparing them or that I would prefer her. So, we set it up, she came to our place, and we spent the night together. And I regret it. Even if those hours were great at the moment, I would do anything to get back to that night and stop everything. The following days, everything was great. Letty was happy that I liked it, and Abby kept it private, so it was like another perfect adventure for us. Then after a few days, Letty started to become distant. Sleeping on the other side of the bed, not wanting me to kiss or hug her, not even cuddling. At first, she said it was because she was tired, but after insisting, she told me it was due to our adventures with Abby. She told me that, even if she had fun that night, now she was feeling awful, cheated, used. The image of me making love to another woman was burned in her mind, and she wasn't comfortable with me near her. We tried talking about it, even got into counseling. I tried everything to assure her that I only love her, that it was just a fantasy that would never happen again. And then Abby called me. Her period was delayed, and she believed she could be pregnant. That demolished my marriage. My wife moved out from our house and asked for a divorce. She said she can't be near me, knowing that another woman is pregnant with my child. It's too much for her, and she can't even see me. No matter what I do or say, for her, it's over. Meanwhile, Abby took a test, and she was indeed pregnant. I still don't know how it happened. I use protection all the time, even checked it after using it, and still, she is pregnant. Abby is 100% sure the baby is mine. She says that, before me, she hasn't done it with anyone else in months, and she is so sure about it that she offered to take a DNA test when the baby is born, just to clear any doubts. I feel like I've messed up my entire life. Letty is the love of my life, and she doesn't want to see me. Abby is not a bad friend at all, but she is the type of person you can only take in small doses, and now I'm bound to her forever. She wants to keep the baby and wants me to be part of the baby's life. Sometimes I want to just disappear, and things. I'm desperate, my life is falling apart because of that stupid mistake. I don't know what to do. Update 1. Hey all, some have sent me messages asking for an update, and I think I can give one. Abby and I took the test, and I'm the father. She is open to doing another test after the baby is born if I want to be sure, but as things seem to be, it's my baby. At first, I took it the worst way possible. I kept beating myself up for being such an idiot, and reading some of the comments made me realize that I'm the biggest fool for asking my wife to add another girl to our bedroom. Abby and I talked after the test. She is keeping the baby, she wants to be a mom and wants me to be a father to the baby. She told me that she didn't expect me to start living with her and get married, just to take charge of the responsibilities that will come with the baby, and to get along and be good friends for the baby. She also apologized for how things had developed, saying that she never wanted to hurt me or Letty, her intention was just to have fun, but she is grateful and excited for the baby. She and I are on good terms now. I'm still not totally comfortable with her, and her saying that if I can't save my marriage and end up divorcing my wife, she wouldn't mind having fun with me again makes me doubt her real intentions. On the other side, my wife hasn't started the divorce yet. She moved back, and we have talked. At first, she was so angry at me, and I let her do and say all she needed, every insult and name, I earned it. Then she got very sad, and we cried together as she told me she still loves me. She said she can't live without me but can't live with me either after what happened. The three-way doozy is not the problem anymore, now it's about me having a baby with Abby. It's hard, we both are confused and scared and still don't know if we will get over this. But the thing that has me even more confused is that recently, my wife's bedroom drive has grown. At times she asks for intimacy, and right after wants space. She wants to be playful and do the things we used to play, and right after she goes to another room. I've asked her, and she said she doesn't know why she does it, she just feels that she needs it. She is still insecure about us, about what we are, where we are. Divorce is still on the table, so we are stuck. I would like to know what to do, but I don't know what is the right thing or how to solve this. I know I'll have to be responsible for the baby, but I want to save my marriage too. Edit. I used rubber every time. One of the doctors told me that it's very rare, but they can fail. It needs a little, even microscopic, tear that goes unnoticed, and a lot of bad luck, but it's possible. I threw the used rubbers in the room's trash bin. It would be impossible for her to take them without us noticing. It happened in our room, and we stayed a little on the bed after we were done. After that, we dressed and went to the kitchen for coffee, and after that, she left. I don't know what her real intentions are, but I'm definitely not going to be with her. I'll take charge of my responsibilities as a father, but just that. There weren't many interactions between them, it was more both focused on me. My favorite comment. I bet Letty works at a call center. A call center is just the place where a person could ask a coworker if they wanted to be an extra to smash without getting dragged to HR.
I just found out my best friend's son has been sliding into my daughter's DMs. He is in college and she is in middle school. I am shocked and upset and don't know what to do. I am still very good friends with my childhood best friend. We grew up together, were there for each other's highs and lows, when we both married the loves of our lives, and when we started having children, etc. Our families are very close. She got married and had children a while before I did, so she has older children, one of whom is a 21-year-old college boy. I am practically his aunt and know him very well. The past few days, I could tell my daughter was in an unusual mood, but I didn't think too much of it. Today, I went into her room and saw her crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she said she couldn't tell me and to go away. I don't know why, but I got a really bad feeling about the situation and asked to see her phone. She freaked out and started to scream at me. After a while, I got it out of her that she and this 21-year-old man have been in contact, talking, texting, and calling over the course of the past year. WTF, my daughter was in 8th grade. She gave me more details about the situation and said that he would encourage her to tell him about her problems, so they began to form a close relationship. He started telling her that he really loved her and saw her as a little sister, but told her to keep their friendship a secret from me, his mom, and our families. Here is what I know about their relationship. He would video call her at night after everyone was asleep, and they would talk into the night. He would often go on rants to her about how they can't have a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship for now, and my daughter would not really know what to say, she would just listen. He constantly talks to her about inappropriate things that I don't want her exposed to right now, such as his drinking habits in college and stuff like that. He talks to her about his problems, and I see an issue in this because many of his problems in college are nothing a 14-year-old needs to know about. I don't mind her knowing about that stuff, but I would like her to be taught about it in a more responsible way. His friend apparently called her drunk one time and began to say explicit, inappropriate things about both her and my best friend's son. It all makes me want to vomit. Whenever we have family gatherings, we usually let all our children hang out together, and my friend's son joins them. Of course, we assume he's just babysitting and watching over the younger kids. Apparently, at a gathering this weekend, he took my daughter aside and kissed her on the lips. It was her first kiss. He told her he has feelings for her, but that they can't do anything right now. I am so livid right now. My daughter feels that she might have feelings for him, but she is also shaken at the same time because she's uncomfortable. Deep down, I know there's something telling her it's not right, hence why she's so upset. She told me she feels like she likes him, but at the same time doesn't want him to come over anymore. I feel so sick. I feel like a terrible parent for letting this happen under my own roof. How could I have let this happen? There is so much more. This is only a small portion of the stuff she's told me, but I think it pretty much sums up their relationship. I don't know what to feel right now. Part of me wants to go over to my friend's house right now and scream at her son. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but I really need some advice. I'm going to tell my husband later, and I know he's going to be extremely livid. I don't know what's going to happen with me and my best friend either. I don't even know if I care at this point about my relationship with her. I need to get some help for my daughter. There might be details she's leaving out. I asked her to show me the text between them, but he apparently made her download this texting app that automatically deletes their conversations each day. He made her do this so that they wouldn't be caught. Update 1. Earlier, after my daughter told me about this situation, I instructed her to block all communication with him, which she said she would. I checked in with her later to make sure everything was deleted, and thankfully it was. I told her that she was very strong and that I was proud of her. She knew her father and I were planning on talking to his parents, but all of a sudden, in the past hour, she kept trying to convince us not to and insisted that it wasn't as bad as she made it out to be. She kept saying it was her fault and seemed to get increasingly anxious. My husband and I sat her down to try and work through the feelings and asked her where it was coming from. What I didn't know is that right before she blocked him, she messaged him out of fear, saying she was sorry but she had told me about their relationship and what had happened. She told him that she wasn't allowed to talk to him anymore or something like that. She blocked him without giving him the chance to respond. He apparently knows what her Tumblr account is and decided to create an account just to message her there. I have never seen such a manipulative and horrific message, but it worked because it got to my daughter's head. She has been begging us to just drop everything and leave him alone. Obviously, we are not going to do that, but I'm at a loss on how to convince my daughter that things will end up okay. We've all agreed to go to bed since it's been a long night. I've kept my daughter's phone in my room so he won't contact her in the middle of the night. Tomorrow we will deal with the situation once we are thinking more clearly and are able to take the best course of action. Update 2. Taking into consideration all the advice we received, our own gut instincts, and information we had on hand about the situation, we decided to move forward and get law enforcement involved in this situation. Our reasoning is simply that this guy knew exactly what he was doing and must be held accountable for his actions. Getting the police involved has certainly brought a lot more information to fruition. A thorough search brought up some more disturbing text conversations between my daughter and this boy that was enough to charge him with indecency with a child. We will continue to move forward with this and get our daughter the justice she deserves. The new findings, however, have brought up some more information about our daughter's well-being. At the time of writing my previous post, I knew she was having some problems with friends in school on top of this current situation with a 21-year-old, but what I didn't know was how severe her emotional issues have been lately. I feel awful. I know teenagers are good at hiding the things that they want to hide, but I wish I noticed or tried to reach out to her more when I noticed she was being moody or isolating herself in her room. The police showed us a lot of messages involving unalive ideation, possibly signs of depression, with phrases like, "I'm a mistake. I don't think anyone would care if I disappeared," being constantly said. I don't want to diagnose, but I'm really afraid for my daughter's mental health and behavior. I don't know if it's BPD, depression, anxiety, or what. She says she doesn't want to go to therapy, but my husband and I agree that she needs to at least go to a preliminary appointment and speak to one. She is pretty open with us, but I know there are things she doesn't want to tell us about, and there are things that we really feel only a professional can help with. We've set up an appointment with both a therapist and a psychiatrist. I'm just rambling now, but I've always tried to give my daughter privacy. Still, I think it's time I monitor who she's talking to. I don't want her to feel like I don't trust her and like I'm spying on her, so it's difficult. If there was just some way for me to see the contacts on the app she's messaging without really seeing the message content, that would help maybe. I just want to make sure she's not talking to anyone she shouldn't be. I don't know, we're glad that we can move forward and potentially get the 21-year-old guy charged with something and have him out of our lives, but my daughter is far from being healed. Update 3. I've received some interest in how the parents of the 21-year-old, aka my best friend from childhood, responded to the situation. I received this text from his mom not long after the police went to their house. "You could have given me a heads up before you went ahead and destroyed my family, lol." I did not reply to the text, seeing as it was immature. I did not want to entertain it, and I had bigger things to worry about. She called me a bit later, and I made the mistake of picking up. She began to berate me and told me that I had broken her trust and ruined her family and that they were going through hell. She said that she could have fixed things herself if I had come to her first, and that I didn't need to go to the police and escalate the situation. She said some stuff about how her son's life was ruined too and some other stuff about how I'll burn in hell for this. I thanked her for the friendship and all she has done for me over the years, and told her I was not interested in debating whether or not I did the right thing outside of a court, and swiftly ended our friendship. Update 4. It's been well over a year since everything happened, and I figured I should give a final update to the community that was so supportive to me during such a difficult time for my family. I sincerely thank each and every one of you who gave me advice and showed so much love and support. After everything that happened last summer, we did eventually end up moving to a new state right before the school year started. My husband's job allowed him to relocate there, and after some time, I ended up finding a job of my own here. My daughter was able to start high school at a new school, and it was the best decision we made. She's very recently 16 now and in her second year of high school, involved in a couple extracurriculars, has a wonderful new social circle, and a boyfriend who's actually her age this time. He's been over for dinner a couple of times, and he's a lovely young man, treating my daughter with so much respect. I'm just so happy that she's happy now after everything she's been through. There's still stuff she needs to work through, so she is attending therapy regularly, and it's helping her a lot. Overall, all the dust has settled, and my family is happy, stronger, and closer because of all that's happened. As for the man who did all this to my daughter, we unfortunately weren't able to get too harsh of a punishment. We fought tooth and nail and were only able to get him to be slapped on the wrist with a large fine. We've come to peace with it, knowing that we did all we could, and that he's out of our lives for good. We were able to place a restraining order on him, so he won't be bothering anyone anymore, and he's on the S-offender registry. As for my best friend, aka the mother of this man, we hadn't talked to each other in over a year. A couple of months ago, she reached out to me to tell me she was in my new state for a business trip and asked me to get coffee with her. I declined at first, but she called me and told me she just wants to meet for closure, that she's missed me and wants to apologize for her part in everything. We met for coffee, and she completely apologized for the way she treated my family through all of this and told me she only did it because she was afraid of her family falling apart, but now recognizes that it was selfish of her. She wanted to be friends again in some capacity if I was okay with it. I thanked her for the apology but told her that I don't feel comfortable resuming a friendship with her and that it was best for us to go our separate ways. It was a really sad conversation. She and I have been together through so much growing up. She has been my rock during some of the most difficult and scary times in my life, and vice versa. It was hard not to be sad or second-guess it, but I knew it was best. I don't want ties with her family or any connection there. Thank you again everyone for everything, I'm so grateful. My fiancé is trying to double dip in his relationships by dipping the babysitter, so I'm kicking him to the streets and taking our daughter. So, my fiancé, Alex, 35M, and I, 28F, have an 11-month-old daughter, Cassie, together. I had Cassie and then returned to work because I could never be a stay-at-home mom. Side note, I work as a psychologist, and I'm actually French but live in the US. When I returned at the 4-month mark, after a difficult birth, we looked around to find a nanny to look after Cassie while Alex and I were at work. We saw a few girls, but then one of Alex's colleagues suggested his daughter, who had dropped out of college, let's call her Liv, 20F. Everything went well. Admittedly, I did notice her being quite attached to Cassie, but I brushed it off as a good friendship between the two. She also liked Alex, and it was obvious she had a crush on him, always batting her lashes and giggling. I found it amusing, as I'm confident in myself, and he always laughed it off with me too. But then on Thursday night, he asked me to do something on his phone while he bathed Cassie, and I saw some pictures flash up from Liv. When I looked at them, they were obviously inappropriate images. She was wearing skimpy clothing and in provocative poses. I looked back at the history, and she had been sending these for a while. As far as I can see, Alex has never responded, but obviously, texts can be deleted. When I asked him, he got defensive and told me to stop using my psychiatrist tricks on him. I was not happy with his non-answers, and it ended up in a shouting match, waking Cassie. So I got him a bag and threw him out, telling him he's not welcome back until I have answers. I'm considering taking Cassie back home to see my family in France for a little bit. His mother and friends have been blowing up my phone, saying I'm being too harsh and that they were harmless texts. Nevertheless, I feel disrespected, and that doesn't fly with me. Update 1. I'd like to start this off addressing the comments stating I'm kidnapping my daughter. I'm taking her with me to visit my family back home in France for a few weeks. Alex has already given his consent on the matter and it is a non-issue. There was also confusion about my job. I work in the psychology field, and I was just using this post as a sounding board, really. The responses from his friends and mother made me question myself. As stated, I informed Liv's father of what happened. He was furious, both with Alex and Liv. He apologized to me and said he would try to get the truth from her, mentioning that she rebels any chance she gets, but this was just disgusting. I then looked through the camera in my daughter's nursery, and I saw a clip of Liv asking if she wanted a sister or brother from Miss Livy and Daddy. That made me feel sick to my stomach. She responded to her dismissal with denials, but I told her I had the footage and that she was to never lay a hand on my baby again. If she wanted Alex so bad, she could have him. I reminded her that how you get them is how you lose them, and he would soon tire of a 20-something college dropout kid. Alex returned to the house temporarily for us to talk. After I showed him the camera footage and text from Liv, he broke down and said he was really sorry. He admitted that while nothing had physically happened between them, they had been exchanging photos and messages for a month or two. He showed me the original messages, and it was her who had pursued him. She started by saying she felt like a schoolgirl around him, and she said she needed advice from an important man like him. She sent a provocative photo of herself, asking if he liked what he saw. He started out not really responding, but after a few texts, he responded, and it started from there. She was saying things about them being a happy family together, but he never responded to those texts. He begged me to forgive him and start fresh. He said we can move, that we have plenty of money, and he will do whatever I want. I told him what I want is to go home for a few weeks, so that's what I'm doing, and Cassie and I are flying tomorrow. He honestly looks so pathetic right now. They are welcome to each other. There will be no wedding, and I will be consulting with a custody lawyer once I get to France to see my options both in the US and internationally. As someone in the comments said, I stayed in the US not because I think it's a good place to live, but because that's where Alex was based and wanted to build our family. However, I will always support the father-daughter relationship, but he cannot have our daughter and his nanny. Update 2. Hi everyone, thanks so much to all of you for putting support and advice under my 2 posts. There are also some very obvious insecure incels in the comments claiming I'm kidnapping my daughter, and you're just hilarious. Anyway, for the update, Cassie and I have been in France for 2 days now. It's been so wonderful to be back with my family after missing them for so long. They've been doting on Cassie, especially my mother and father, who, even though are divorced, remain very amicable for the sake of my sisters and me. My mom had a big room set up with toys and blankets for Cassie, and I've also been loving the wine and cheese. It's been very good to let loose after all the stress, honestly, and I've gotten to ride my family's horse and show him to Cassie finally. I'm meeting a lawyer today, and my ex has been calling. I let him talk to Cassie whenever he wants, but I'm refusing to engage while I'm on my break. Liv contacted me out of anger and spite when Alex cut all contact with her to show that they had a one-night stand a few weeks before I found out. Update 3. Hi everyone again. A lot of you still comment on my old posts asking for an update, so I thought I'd let you guys know what's happened in the past few months. So, after going to France to visit my parents immediately after what happened 6 months ago, I agreed with my family that I needed to come home to France with my daughter. My family said they would provide any help I needed with moving and lawyers, and my father said a prayer we never had a wedding, as there was no divorce to go through. When I returned to the US, I informed my ex-fiancé that there would be no compromise or discussion on my next steps. Cassie and I were returning to France so I would have my support system closer, and I wouldn't feel so isolated. I told him I'd never try to stop his relationship with Cassie and that he would be welcome to visit her in France, depending on where he decided to live, and that I would happily bring her back to the States for visits periodically. However, I wouldn't compromise with Liv. If I found out she had been near my daughter, I would stop all contact between him and Cassie. I felt like, after what he had put me through and how he had disrespected me, I was quite gracious with my offers. We managed to sort the move out in the next 2 months and signed an agreement which stated I was the primary custodian of our daughter, and I made most decisions regarding her. It set out specific times Alex would be able to see or have Cassie. He basically agreed to all of this because he thought once I had left the US, I would become more sympathetic and let him back in once we were in France. I didn't bother to correct him, frankly, because it benefited me. I found a really nice apartment a street over from my parents, so I moved in there once my parents and sister had helped me get it decorated before I came to France. We've been here for just over 4 months now, and Cassie is settling in great. She goes to a daycare with my friend's son and has made great connections here with other kids. I'd forgotten how much more social the experience of having kids was in Europe compared to the US. Once I was added to the parents group chat, the other mothers immediately suggested welcome drinks to get to know me better, and I've made some amazing friends with other moms and dads. I didn't have any of this in the US. It's really helped Cassie's language skills as her French is developing much better than when it was just me speaking it to her. I've put her in baby ballet like my parents did with me, and she's loving it. We've got a rescue cat called Walter, and Cassie adores him. He sleeps at the end of her bed and looks after her all the time. Alex has been over twice since, even though I had given him plenty more chances to see Cassie. However, he didn't take me up on them. For context, there is no issue with money or his passport to excuse why he won't fly. We spent Christmas with my parents, my sister, and her partner, and it was just a lovely celebration after the crap that happened. I've started seeing one of the doctors from the new hospital I work in now. It's still relatively new, so she's met Cassie only briefly. She works in the emergency department, and she's honestly amazing. I did jokingly say Alex had put me off men but didn't mean to take it so literally. It's going slow as she knows what I've just come out of, but she's very laid back and a go-with-the-flow type of person, which is exactly what I needed. Alex's mother is not happy, as she is of the opinion that I should have just ignored what happened between Alex and Liv. She said when I was in her family, I was expected to act like a normal American housewife and forgive my husband like her and her daughter do, none of that European nonsense. However, I'm not just a little American housewife who will ignore her husband's indiscretions. Thank you all for your advice and support in my initial posts. Edit. For all the Americans getting annoyed at the phrase little American housewife, not my words, I was quite literally quoting Alex's mother and what she said to me. She is an American. Also, it's really funny to see the men in the comments proving that there is still a double standard. I don't know why, as the mother, I am expected to stay in a country that doesn't speak my first language, where I don't have any family, few friends, no support, and have to deal with Alex's family all for his sake so he doesn't have to make an extra effort to see his daughter when he was the one who decided to break the family in the first place.